by Andrew McCarthy. Actor, director, and award-winning travel writer Andrew McCarthy is an editor-at-large at National Geographic Traveler magazine. Several miles from the sea in the west of Ireland, outside the market town of Listowel, along County Road 555, just before the half-dozen shops that compose the village of Dua, a path was cut into the overgrowth and slashed up into the hillside. I almost missed it. There was no street sign, no markings of any kind. High hedges bound the single lane. Brambles brushed both sides of the car as I went. Occasionally there was a break in the wild growth, and green fields speckled with brown and white cows came into view. This was the townland of Lacca West. The vista in this part of North Kerry was surprisingly vast and looked out toward Ballybunion and the Atlantic, America beyond. The road tracked the hills for so long without a house in sight that I became convinced I'd come the wrong way. But with no way to turn the car, I drove on. Then ahead, on my left, a small yellow cottage dating from the 19th century, with two square windows set deep in thick walls, commanding an expansive view out over the valley below. Standing on the three-step cement stoop and spilling down into the drive were 24 people, old women, strapping men, young kids. I'd never seen any of them before. This was my family. Tracing genealogy, searching for roots, has a long tradition and has become big business. Information gathering that was once a painstaking, sometimes needle-in-a-haystack ordeal, with false leads culminating in frustrating dead ends, or hours spent sifting through crumbling church records in musty basements, has become often as simple as a few mouse clicks. My own relationship with my Irish heritage had always been one of casual pride and affectionate, if uninformed, identification. With a name like McCarthy, I was quickly stamped as someone who claimed Ireland as home, if only a distant one, until I landed in Dublin almost by accident in the summer of 1986. I had been lingering with little intent in London when a friend with the nickname of Sevy and the surname of O'Connell suggested we hop over to Dublin for the weekend. "Why not?" I answered. I was a young man with no strings attached. Or so I thought. But when I stepped off the gangway onto the tarmac at the Dublin airport, impulsively I dropped to my knees and kissed the ground. Until that moment I had no idea that I held any special attachment to the land of my ancestors, but the gesture felt instinctual. I was somehow home. We rented a car and were handed an 11 by 16-inch map of the entire country as our guide. Needless to say, we were lost most of the time. And the more lost we got, the more interesting our adventures became. Our weekend visit grew into a month. We gravitated to the south and west. We found our way to a then very hard-scrabble Cork City and into the surrounding countryside. I saw the name McCarthy attached to pubs and garages, painted on shingles for lawyers, real estate agents, and travel agents. I was told, and it certainly seemed true, that most of the McCarthys came from this area in western County Cork. Even the famous Blarney Stone, which we naturally kissed so as to ensure the gift of gab, was located in what was said to be originally McCarthy Castle. I was among my people. Rural West Cork was rugged country, wild and raw. The sea never felt far off. In a village, the name of which I've long forgotten, we wandered into a tiny storefront haberdashery that my memory will never erase. The shelves were overburdened. The smell was of new wool and fresh leather. Fishing tackle cluttered one corner. I picked up an Irish tweed cap and slipped it on. When I glanced in the small square mirror dangling by a thin chain from a single nail, I saw the map of Ireland written in my face. I kept that cap for 20 years and still miss it. Sevy disappeared behind a heavy curtain and stepped out a few minutes later wearing a pair of stiff, high-waisted trousers with suspenders.